And now, please welcome back ASCRS President, Dr. Thomas Samuelson.
It's the summer of 1967. Imagine life, a 26-year-old handsome young doctor with dark hair and sparkly blue eyes. One beautiful little girl at home, another child on the way. A lucrative, fulfilling career ahead. Now fast forward several months. Instead, as Captain Hal Kushner regains consciousness after crashing into a mountain in South Vietnam, he finds himself hanging upside down in his inverted Huey helicopter. Hit by exploding ammunition while trying to free the pilot, he will lose his entire crew within days, and he'll be left on his own in hostile territory. Shot, broken, badly burned, and unable to see, his glasses lost on impact, he is captured by the Viet Cong, and he will spend 5 years in horrific conditions as a prisoner of war. Described as an angel in hell by his fellow POWs, Hal Kushner was the only physician among 591 American prisoners in the Vietnam War. Dr. Kushner appears 14 times in the Burns-Novick documentary. He easily became my favorite personality as I was watching the production. And that was before I knew he was an ophthalmologist. That was before I knew him at all. It was only during the closing credits, when the producers were informing the audience of the fate of the major characters depicted in the film, that I learned of this. Dr. Kushner's picture appeared, and I remember thinking to myself, I remember that guy, his story's incredible. And it was that picture, and then the next frame, it says that he later became an ophthalmologist. And I thought, how is it possible? I didn't know his story until then. And how is it possible that we have not honored this hero before now? But here we are today. Steve Spears and I flew to Florida to have dinner with Hal and Gail, his wife, and we learned of his ongoing philanthropic efforts and his international humanitarian work. Some never recover from their war wounds, understandably so. But Dr. Kushner not only persevered through unimaginable hardship, but he thrived after the war, serving others his entire life. The ASCRS board unanimously agreed that Hal should become the first recipient of the ASCRS Distinguished Member Award. Dr. Kushner is no longer Major Kushner, but Colonel Kushner. And I later learned he might have become General Kushner, but he didn't want to travel so much. And he was recently nominated for the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And I'm pleased to announce that ASCRS has added its support to this nomination. Ladies and gentlemen, a member of ASCRS for 40 years, Dr. Hal Kushner.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a seat. Take your seats. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, Gail. Thank you, Regina, if you're in the audience. I am overwhelmed by this recognition from this premier organization and my peers. I am a small-town general ophthalmologist. But before that, I was an Army flight surgeon for a very famous, highly decorated unit. I was the only survivor of a non-survivable helicopter crash. And I was seriously wounded in the crash with 3 broken bones, a bullet wound, and burns. And then 3 days after the crash, I was shot again while being captured. My captivity lasted 65 months. 5.5 years, 1,932 days away from my home and family. My daughter was 3.5 when I left, and when I came back, she was in the 5th grade and this tall. My son was born 4 months after I was captured, And of course, we had no communication. My family didn't know if I was alive or not. And I never even knew that he was a son. I never knew that he was a healthy boy until I met him a week before his 5th birthday. The first 3.5 years of my captivity were spent in the mountainous jungles of South Vietnam, where every day saw a struggle for survival against a merciless enemy, starvation, disease, and the elements. We were shackled, beaten, and starved. Half of us died. 10 very good American soldiers and Marines died in my arms. 3 crew members on my aircraft died beside me. Conditions were extremely harsh, with minimal food, no shoes, no clothing, no blankets, no medicine, no soap, no toothpaste, no tobacco, no nothing. The hardest part for me was watching our once strong comrades waste away and die, and then eulogizing them and burying their poor, starved corpses. Then, with only 12 survivors out of 27, our captors decided to move us to North Vietnam. We walked 900 kilometers, 560 miles, in 57 days, often shackled, to Hanoi and to jail. In jail, we were 6 to a cell, sleeping on a wooden pallet and eating 2 meals of a thin pumpkin soup, a small piece of bread, and 2 cups of water per day. There was a bucket in the cell for a latrine. One man got out once a day to empty the bucket. It was brutal and cruel, but it was better than the jungle. Every minute that I was captured, I thought about being a physician. One of my fellow prisoners later wrote, "Captain Kushner never gave up his will to practice medicine. In the end, he would just hold dying prisoners in his arms and comfort them as they passed to the other side." Another wrote, "Kushner never quit, always trying to motivate us to keep fighting, keep trying." I had plenty of time to think about what specialty I would choose after my POW experience. I had had fairly extensive training in medicine and in orthopedics and in OBGYN, but I changed my mind and became an ophthalmologist. It was the best decision I ever made. I finished my residency in 1977, 11 years after graduating from medical school. In 1976, coached by Henry Clayman, who was a friend of my chief's, John Schock, I implanted the first lens in San Antonio, a Copeland lens, and then an hour later, the second one, a Binkhorst iris clip lens. I joined the American Intraocular Implant Society, the precursor to this organization, in the late 70s when Bob Drews of St. Louis was president, and I've been a member ever since. I was trained in intracapsular surgery, and I did lots of Vorse medallion and anterior chamber lenses. They were hard, and I switched to extracap in 1983 thanks to Henry Mitchell, and then to phaco surgery in 1985. I have never advertised nor co-managed, and I've been successful beyond my dreams. My last operating room case was 17 June 2015 at age 74, an orbital hemangioma on a 13-year-old boy. And now I work in the office 2 days a week with 3 very indulgent partners. I've been on missions all over the world: Peru, Turkey, Haiti, Dominican Republic, India, and Africa several times. These missions have been so very fulfilling for me, with a wonderful learning experience and the opportunity to meet fascinating people and to give back to this profession, which has given me so very much. In my early days, I had the opportunity to meet the giants: David Kogan, Lawton Smith, Ed Mominy, Norman Jaffe, Marshall Parks, Don Gass, even Dr. Frank Walsh. And now a new generation of giants have emerged. It was such a great thrill for Gail and me to have dinner with them Thursday night. When I started FACO, I went to Calgary, Canada, and I watched Dr. Gimbel for a day. That was before YouTube. And now, to stand on the same stage with him is just such a great honor for me. I wish my parents were alive. In my 53 years of practicing medicine and 42 of ophthalmology, I have operated on 4 generations of 2 different families. And I've had 5 couples in my practice celebrate their 75th anniversaries. To me, that is a great privilege. During my captivity, I lost 7 teeth, 55 pounds, 13 brothers, 5.5 years of my life, and watching my children grow up. I have no bitterness at all. I feel lucky and blessed. I'm so proud and honored that I could serve my country under the most difficult conditions and yet emerge with even more love and devotion for this exceptional nation. But I never forget, I'm here because of my comrades. We helped and supported each other. None of us would be alive if it weren't for all of us. Shakespeare had it right. We few, we happy few, we band of brothers. For he who sheds his blood with me, this day shall be my brother. And I owe my fellow soldiers my life. So I thank them for helping me to live to this day and be recognized by you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I don't want to drop it. I don't want to drop it. You know, Hal, it's just such an honor to give you this award. Doing the background for this introduction, I think, was the most enjoyable thing I had in my entire presidency. It was just such an honor to award you with this. And what I loved about it is that we get to honor one of our members, 40 years, and it's a member I never knew of you. I didn't know you. And it's just we have so much talent in this room and so many amazing stories, probably not many like yours, but what an amazing story, and it is just such a great honor to give you the first Distinguished Member Award from ASCRS. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
The exit this way.